Forget New Year, New You. This season is about slowing down, locking the doors, and cozying up at home with the one you really want to do nothing with. Your dog. After the holiday chaos, those quiet nights with a blanket, a podcast, and your pup feel like the reset you actually need. Ollie helps make those moments easier with fresh protein-packed meals made from real human-grade ingredients, so your dog can enjoy some quality comfort food too. Choose from 5 recipes and get a personalized plan for your dog's needs. Meals arrive perfectly proportioned with a scoop and storage container, so serving is fast and mess-free. And with Ollie's in-app on-demand health screenings, supporting your dog is easy, ensuring more cuddles for many years to come. Visit ollie.com/truecrime and use code TRUECRIME for 60% off your first box.
On February 23, 2020, 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery was running down the road in the Satilla Shores neighborhood, about 15 minutes away from Brunswick, Georgia, about 2 miles from where he lived. At 1:04 p.m., surveillance video captures him entering the frame at 220 Satilla Drive. It's an empty house that's an open construction site. He stops on the front lawn and then walks inside. He can be seen looking around. 4 minutes later, at 1:08 p.m., Ahmaud leaves and goes running down the road. At 1:14 p.m., a 911 call comes through.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
I'm out here at Satilla Shores. There's a black male running down the street.
Satilla, where at Satilla Shores?
I don't know what street we're on. Stop right there! Is it? Stop!
Gunshots are heard. The caller is 64-year-old Greg McMichael. His son, 34-year-old Travis McMichael, has just shot and killed Ahmaud Arbery. Police from the Glynn County Police Department were initially in charge of the investigation. They interviewed Travis and his father, Greg, along with another neighbor named William Bryan. According to the police report, Greg said he and his son thought Ahmaud looked like a man who was involved in several break-ins in the area. And when they saw him running past their house, they immediately grabbed their guns, hopped in their truck, and followed him. When William Bryan saw them pass his house, he too hopped in his truck, giving chase to the running man. Minutes later, Ahmaud was dead. Greg told police that Travis and Ahmaud had started fighting over Travis's shotgun, at which point Travis fired his gun. A week later, Brunswick District Attorney Jackie L. Johnson recused herself from the case. Greg McMichael had been an investigator in her office for several years until he retired. Later, she would be indicted for obstruction and violations of oath. More on that later. After her recusal, the case appeared to stall. In April 2020, George E. Barnhill, the new district attorney who was assigned to the case, told investigators that there was insufficient evidence to arrest anyone. But then he too resigned after mounting pressure from Ahmaud's family. He too appeared to have quite a conflict of interest. His son had also worked with Greg McMichael at the Brunswick District Attorney's Office. The case was then transferred to a third district attorney, Tom Durden. In May 2020, a video began to make the rounds on the internet. A local attorney who had first consulted with the McMichaels and Bryan had leaked it, later saying that he did so to dispel any rumors about what had happened. Ahmaud was black, while the suspects were white. The attorney said, quote, "It wasn't 2 men with a Confederate flag in the back of a truck going down the road and shooting a jogger in the back." But what the video showed was gruesome and shocking. It was recorded from inside William Bryan's truck. This from the New York Times. Quote, "Recorded from inside a vehicle, it shows Mr. Arbery running along a shaded 2-lane residential road when he comes upon a white pickup truck with a man standing beside its open driver's side door. Another man is in the truck bed. Mr. Arbery runs around the vehicle and disappears briefly from view. Muffled shouting can be heard before Mr. Arbery emerges, tussling with the man outside the truck as 3 shotgun blasts echo. After the video was released, Tom Durden requested that the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, or GBI, take over the case. And after just 2 days on the case, the GBI made arrests. They arrested Greg and Travis McMichael, charging them with murder and aggravated assault. Then, a few weeks later, a third arrest, 50-year-old William Bryan. All 3 men would be tried together, and all 3 would claim they were making a citizen's arrest under a law that would end up being repealed after Ahmaud's death. The Civil War-era law in question, from 1863, said that it was legal for citizens to arrest someone if they had reasonable and probable grounds of suspicion that the person was committing a felony. According to the ACLU, it was originally passed to capture slaves who were escaping. Even though the law was repealed after Ahmaud died, the 3 defendants still used it as the centerpiece for their defense. Would it work on the jury? This is Jillian, and in partnership with Law and Crime, you are listening to Court Junkie, episode 187. Linda Danakoski gave the opening statements on behalf of the prosecution. She started by telling the jury that they are there because of assumptions and driveway decisions. She said all 3 of the defendants did everything they did based on assumptions, not on facts. She told the jury she would be giving her opening statement in 3 different parts. She would first talk about the indictment and the charges in the indictment. She would then talk about some housekeeping issues and how the witnesses might be out of order or referring to transcripts from time to time. Lastly, she would talk about who the parties are, where this happened, and what led up to it. She said the first count is malice murder, intent to kill. She told them that malice can be formed in an instant. The defendants were also charged with 4 counts of felony murder. She explained that felony murder is when you're committing a felony and someone dies because of it. She said a classic example is a guy going into a store to rob it. He isn't there to murder anyone, just to hold it up. But she said the armed robbery goes bad, and he kills the clerk. He committed a felony, not with intent to kill, but someone died during that felony, hence felony murder. So what felonies are we talking about in this case, she asked. Aggravated assault with a shotgun. She said Travis McMichael brought a shotgun and pointed it at Ahmaud Arbery, and then he pulled the trigger and he killed him. Then there's aggravated assault with pickup trucks. She said both Travis McMichael and Greg McMichael were in a white F-150 pickup truck that they used to cut off Ahmaud, to go at him and get him to stop. She said William Bryan used his Chevy Silverado to go after Ahmaud and to force him into a ditch, all while Ahmaud was running on public roadways. The third felony, she said, is false imprisonment. That's where you detain someone in violation of their personal liberty. She said you hold them, or in the words of Greg McMichael, you trap them like a rat. The last felony, she said, is criminal attempt at false imprisonment, when they attempted to confine Ahmaud on Burford Street. Danakoski showed the jury a photo of 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery. She said he lived with his mother and that he was also a brother and an uncle. And an avid runner, she said. His Nike shoes basically had no tread left on them whatsoever. That's how often he would go running. She then pointed to Travis McMichael, who was 34 years old at the time. He worked at Metzen Marine and lived on Satilla Drive with his parents, Greg and Lee. He is not and was not a law enforcement officer at the time, she said. Greg McMichael was 64 at the time, a retiree. At the time of this incident, not a law enforcement officer, she said. Then she said there was defendant William Bryan, who goes by the name Roddy, 50 years old, mechanic, living on Burford Street in the Satilla Shores neighborhood. Again, she said, at the time of this incident, not a law enforcement officer. She said at 220 Satilla Drive, there was an open, unsecured construction site, a house that was under construction. She said the land was owned not by any of the defendants, but by Larry and Amy English. The site was wide open, no front or rear doors, and no garage doors. It had been that way for over a year. She said there were no trespassing signs on it and no fence surrounding it at all. She said Larry started to have liability concerns. Someone told him that kids were starting to go hang out at his dock in the back of the house. And so Larry put up some cameras. Sometime in late October or November 2019, he was over at the construction site and he noticed that some stuff was missing from his boat, expensive stuff. She said he didn't call the police to report it. He was thinking it was his contractors, looky-loos, or teenagers. He installed cameras in the dock areas, too. Over the next few months, the cameras captured people entering the property several times. Ahmaud was on camera a few times, as well as a white couple. In some instances, Larry called the police, but nothing was ever missing from the property. She told the jury that there was an incident on January 1st, 2020. Travis McMichael's handgun was stolen out of his pickup truck on Satilla Drive. That was unsolved, and there was no evidence that Ahmaud Arbery had anything to do with it. 12 days before the murder, on February 11th, 2020, at 7:30 p.m., she said Travis went out in his car, and as he came back into the neighborhood, he saw Ahmaud Arbery in front of the construction site. He recognized him because Larry English had been talking to a neighbor of his and had shared videos of Ahmaud on the property with him. The neighbor, Diego Perez, had then shared the videos with him. Denikoski said they were trying to identify the man so someone could tell him to stop going there. She said Travis went past the construction house to his house and got his dad, Greg. They went and got their guns, got back in the truck, and went back to the construction site. Travis then called 911. When Larry English saw Ahmaud on the camera that night, he didn't call the police. Instead, he called his neighbor, Diego Perez. Diego went over there too, and then the police showed up. Ahmaud was gone. Denikoski told the jury that Officer Rash, the responding officer, had a conversation with the men that evening and told them, "I'm talking to Mr. English right now. He sent me some videos and Mr. English said that this guy has never stolen anything or taken anything from this property." She said the McMichaels at that point were fully informed that the owner of the house had told police that Ahmaud had never taken anything from the property. Then, on February 23rd, 2020, a Sunday, Ahmaud Arbery is seen on camera going into the construction site looking around. A neighbor calls the non-emergency police line. Ahmaud then leaves and runs off quickly down the street into the neighborhood. The police were on their way, Denikoski said. She said Greg McMichael saw Ahmaud running down the street. He didn't know Ahmaud had been inside the construction site. She said he decided to run inside and get his gun.
This is what he tells the police 2 hours or so later at the Glenn County Police Station. So I thought, well, he's running from somebody. He's just done something. He might have hurt somebody or whatever because, this guy's been in and out of that damn one house over and over and over again, got him on videos and everything. He's assumed the worst and has absolutely no immediate knowledge of any crime whatsoever.
She said Greg and Travis armed themselves with their guns and started chasing Ahmaud in their pickup truck. As they cornered Ahmaud in front of William Bryan's house, Travis started yelling questions at him. Seeing the commotion, Bryan decided to join the chase in his own truck. Denikoski said that as Travis was questioning Ahmaud was ignoring him.
Mr. Arbery didn't want to have anything to do with them. You can tell that because he ran off. He took off running, you just saw it, and headed down Burford. They decided to cut him off. How did they cut him off? With their pickup truck. This is evidence of false imprisonment and aggravated assault with a pickup truck, because they cut him off with their pickup truck. And it's at this point in time that Greg McMichael gets out of the pickup truck. He gets out because he's sitting in that kid's seat, and he gets into the back of the pickup truck. So now he's riding in the back of the pickup truck. What Mr. Arbery does at that point is he turns away from the McMichaels, who have now cut him off with a pickup truck, and he runs back down Burford. Runs back down Burford towards Mr. Roddy Bryan. And what did Mr. Roddy Bryan do? Defendant Bryan, you saw him pull up on his driveway and pull back like that? When Mr. Arbery came running this way, he pulled out to try and hit him and ran him into the ditch. False imprisonment on Burford, aggravated assault with a motor vehicle by both parties on Burford to cut off Mr. Arbery. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, Mr. Arbery is under attack.
She said Bryan tried to hit him with his pickup truck 4 different times.
The McMichaels at this point in time, they decide they're going to take off. They're going to go ahead up around Zellwood Drive and come back down, because they're going to try and cut him off. Because Mr. Bryan's now chasing after him. Mr. Bryan is chasing after Mr. Arbery back towards Satilla Drive, back towards kind of the McMichael household or that intersection there. And the thing is, he kind of overshoots Mr. Arbery, doesn't actually hit him, but tries to, but overshoots him. He gets so close to Mr. Arbery that Mr. Arbery actually has a palm print on Mr. Bryan's car and white T-shirt fibers that are consistent on that car. Mr. Bryan said, I tried to corner him, and then he tried to reach for my door. Mr. Bryan pulls off. Mr. Bryan then starts to back his truck up into Mr. Arbery as Mr. Arbery tries to go down Satilla Drive to leave the neighborhood. Defendant Bryan redirected Mr. Arbery up Holmes Drive.
Ahmaud was running from all 3 defendants for 5 minutes. She said Travis then raised his shotgun for no reason. After Bryan had cornered Ahmaud and forced him to turn around and run back towards the McMichaels.
And as Mr. Arbery runs toward him, he pulls up the shotgun and points it at him. Mr. Arbery rounds the corner and is shot the first time, and the struggle ensues.
She said Travis stepped around the open door and moved towards Ahmaud to intercept him. Ahmaud came around and Travis shot him with his shotgun. At 1:14 p.m., Greg McMichael called 911. She said he told the dispatcher, quote, I'm out here in Satilla Shores and there's a black male running down the street. That's the emergency, she told the jury.
And here's the truly, truly tragic part of this whole entire thing. Officer Minshew, who was dispatched due to Mr. Albenze's 911 call, was in Satilla Shores and heard the shots.
She said Ahmaud had nothing on him. No backpack, no cell phone, no ID, no wallet, no keys, no weapon. He couldn't have called for help if he wanted to, she said. She told the jury that there's no evidence that anyone was making an arrest. She noted that not one single defendant said that Ahmaud had a weapon. No one said Ahmaud made any verbal threats or gestures. He said nothing in the 5 minutes he ran from them.
No one, not one single defendant said, I saw him commit the crime of blah, blah, blah today. Mr. Bryan was on his front porch. Travis McMichael was sitting inside his living room. Greg McMichael was in his driveway. What's your emergency? There's a black male running down the street. These three defendants committed 4 felonies against Mr. Arbery. And it all started when Greg McMichael saw him running down the street. They committed these 4 felonies in violation of his personal liberty before he finally tried to run around their truck, as you saw in the evidence, and get away from these strangers, complete strangers, who had already told him that they would kill him, and that they killed him. At the end of the presentation of the state's evidence, ladies and gentlemen, the state's going to come back, and the state's going to ask you to find them guilty on every single charge in this indictment.
Multiple officers with the Glynn County Police Department testified for the state about what they saw when they responded to the scene on February 23, 2020. Ricky Minshew, now a former police officer who no longer works in the field, was the first responding officer. He described the neighborhood.
The area itself is probably one of the largest bakers that we have, and it's relatively low call volume. I myself didn't experience a whole lot of crime initially. The most of the time, then when I would go to any type of violent crime, it was surrounded by family violence.
Okay.
But it was far few in between. For the most part, it was a quiet. Everyone known to it to be a quiet area, so just a low call volume.
He said the roads are public roadways. The call he responded to in Satilla Shores that day was at 10:37, which means a suspicious person. He said the description was, quote, suspicious black male in the neighborhood wearing a white T-shirt. That call came in at 1:08 p.m. He was fairly close by and arrived at 1:13 p.m. As he responded, his lights and sirens were not activated. He drove slowly through the neighborhood, less than 5 miles per hour with his windows down.
Now, as you're driving down Satilla Drive, does anything catch your attention? Do you hear anything?
When I first come in the neighborhood, I didn't hear anything. As I go a little further down Satilla Drive, I hear 2 loud pop sounds.
Okay.
They were within a couple seconds apart.
Okay. And what did you think when you heard those loud pop sounds?
Well, it was pretty loud, so I knew it was being the boom sound that it was. It was either a firearm or fireworks. It was sounding one or the other.
He continued driving, went around a curve, and came up on the intersection of Holmes Road and Satilla Drive. He said he saw 2 white males. One was waving his hands and trying to flag him down. He parked his car at the intersection, turned his body camera on, and got out.
And I seen 2 males there in front of me, and I observed a black male laying in the middle of the roadway, and he was covered in blood.
Okay. The 2 men who you encountered, what were they doing?
One was just kind of pacing in a small area, just walking. The other doing the same thing, just pacing, walking in a small area there.
He called into dispatch and summoned an ambulance. He said the man appeared to be deceased. The majority of the back of his shirt was covered in blood, he said. He described him as laying face down in a puddle of blood. He then described for the court hearing what he referred to as a death rattle coming from the man. He was asked if he performed CPR, and he said no.
Well, when I got there, I did not know any of the people or any of the facts or circumstances to what had happened. The only thing I knew that I observed was a body laying in the middle of the roadway that had just bled out, and it was by apparent gunfire. So being that I was the only officer on scene, without having any other police units to watch my back, there was no way that I could switch my attention to anything medical and still be able to watch my surroundings and watch after my own safety.
Okay.
And I also did not have the adequate medical training. My uniform and patrol car was not equipped either with any type of medical supplies or medical equipment that would have sufficed working on any gunshot or a critical injury.
He said he saw 2 pickup trucks at the scene. He was asked if he saw any weapons. He said he saw a bloody shotgun lying in a grassy yard. After a few minutes, he then came across a silver revolver handgun in the passenger seat of the white pickup truck. Minshew testified that he spoke to William Bryan at the scene. He referred to a transcript from his body cam, while Larissa Olivier, the senior felony prosecutor, asked him questions. Minshew asked Bryan if he was a passerby coming through, and Bryan responded, not necessarily.
What was Bryan doing when he noticed something was going on? What did he say he was doing?
He said he was working on his porch.
Okay. And where was that? Was that on Burford?
Yes, ma'am, at 307 Burford.
Okay. And did he say something happened to catch his attention as he's working there on his front porch?
Yes, ma'am. He said he saw a black male run by.
Okay.
And then he saw a white truck drive by.
Okay. Now, when he saw the black guy run by, did he recognize that black guy?
He didn't say he recognized him, though.
He said he didn't recognize him, right? Now, when he first saw that truck drive by, did he recognize the people in the truck?
No, ma'am.
Now, what did he do after seeing the black guy on the truck? And if you can turn to page 7, line 23 for me.
He said he hollered at the truck, "Y'all got him?"
So he said he hollered at the truck, "Y'all got him."
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So having no knowledge of what was going on, he asked the truck whether they had him.
That's correct.
Okay. Did he ever ask the black guy if he was okay?
No, ma'am, he did not say he did.
Did he ever ask the black guy if he needed help in any way?
No, ma'am, he didn't say he did that.
Okay.
Bryan told him how he then got in his truck and joined the chase.
He said, pulled out of my driveway, was going to try to block him, but he was going all around it. I made a few moves at him, and he didn't stop.
Okay, thank you. Was that portion that you just read when Mr. Bryan said he pulled out his driveway and tried to block Ahmaud, what road did that happen on?
That was on Burford.
Burford Road, okay. Did Bryan say anything about Ahmaud having to stop during the chase at some point?
Yes, he said that he had to stop and catch his breath.
Bryan told him he blocked Ahmaud and cornered him 5 times, 2 times on Burford Road and 3 times on Holmes Road. Minshew was asked if Bryan ever talked to him about whether he should have been chasing Ahmaud, and he said yes. He then read from his transcript.
He said, this would have never happened, He said, this would have never happened, Should I have been chasing him? I don't know.
Bryan also told him he believed Ahmaud was somehow trying to get into his truck. Minshew read Bryan's statement from the transcript.
One time, when I cornered him up over here, he was trying to get in my truck. He tried to get in my door.
Okay. And at the point where you're talking to him on scene, is he pointing to a certain street where he's saying he cornered Ahmaud?
Yes, ma'am. He was pointing back toward Burford.
To Burford Road?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you then follow up by asking him to clarify what it looked like Ahmaud was doing?
I did.
Okay. And what was his immediate response? And I'm going to ask you to turn to page 21, lines 22 through 23.
I'd cut him off pretty good now.
Bryan admitted to him that he wasn't wearing a seatbelt and that he drove on the wrong side of the roadway when trying to block Ahmaud and corner him.
He said, thrown through the damn windshield trying to chase this joker.
Okay. So did he tell you he felt like he was going to be thrown through the windshield without a seatbelt trying to chase this damn joker?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Joker being the victim in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Immediately before Ahmaud was gunned down, Bryan said he blocked him again.
He said, the black guy, like I say, went on up towards the damn fire truck. But I think I somehow or another changed his mind, and he cut back through this way. I think I blocked him again or something over there.
Brian told him that Ahmaud saw him on Holmes Road and then turned around.
He said he turns around and comes, sees me, and he turns back around and starts hauling ass that way.
Okay. And that would be from your interview with him, hauling ass back towards the intersection where he was killed?
Back towards Holmes Road and Satilla Drive.
Okay.
Brian told him Ahmaud looked tired.
He said, when I rounded the corner out there, it was almost like the black guy was tired of running.
Brian also said he overheard something being yelled towards the black guy.
He said he heard, stop, what'd you do? Or something like that. What'd you steal? What'd you do?
Okay. And that's during the time that he's being chased, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
According to Brian, Ahmaud never said a word during the chase. Brian said he got right up next to him and didn't hear him say a thing.
Did Brian ever say he was trying to make a citizen's arrest of Ahmaud?
No, ma'am.
Did Brian ever say he was trying to arrest Ahmaud for criminal trespass?
No, ma'am.
Loitering?
No, ma'am.
Burglary?
Didn't mention it. No.
Attempted burglary?
No, ma'am.
Aggravated assault?
No.
Anything?
No, ma'am.
Minshew said Brian told him he had recorded what happened on his cell phone and then showed him at the scene. He said he watched the video in its entirety. On cross, William Bryan's attorney asked Minshew if Brian ever expressed any intention to injure Mr. Arbery in any way. Minshew said no. Travis's attorney asked him if it was a fairly traumatic scene, and Minshew responded that he would suspect anyone with a soul or a heart would have been in shock. Officer William Duggan responded to the neighborhood after a call came in for shots fired and a person down in the street. It was about 2 miles from him, so he went to assist.
When I arrived, there was Officer Minshew's patrol car was parked at the intersection. I parked a little bit to the right back of him. I saw him out walking around. I believe he was beginning to take some pictures of the scene. I did see a black male laying on the ground in the middle of the roadway on the pavement. There were a couple of other people walking around, milling around. There was a vehicle in the road further back past the person that was down on the ground.
He said he saw a man who was walking towards him, and he quickly told the man to hang back. There was another man seated on the ground nearby. That man was covered in blood.
I could see he was covered in blood. There was blood all over. And I remember at some point asking if he was okay.
And what did that man covered in blood, seated over there, say to you when you asked him, are you okay?
It was a quick reply of basically, no, I'm not okay. I just effing killed somebody.
Officer Duggan's body camera was played for the jury. It showed Ahmaud Arbery, motionless and face down in the street. Officer Duggan then turns Ahmaud over onto his back. Officer Duggan can be heard saying, "There's nothing I can do for this gentleman." He then takes off his gloves and wipes his hands. Soon after, an ambulance arrives. Officer Jeff Brandeberry spoke to Greg McMichael after arriving at the scene. On the stand, he too was given a transcript from his body cam. He told the jury that Greg was wearing flip-flops, jeans, a gray long-sleeve shirt, and a black hat. He noticed Greg had blood on his left hand.
What did Greg Michael tell you about the blood that was on his left hand?
He said he had his arm when he went down, face down, and his arm was stuck that underneath him. And I don't know if he was going for a weapon or what, because at that point he was still breathing. So I pulled his arm out to see if there was a weapon in it.
He said Greg told him he had been reupholstering boat cushions in the back of his truck when he looked up and saw someone.
I look up, this guy comes hauling ass down the street. I'm talking about dead run. He's not jogging.
Right. And then going to lines 13 through 15, what did he say?
Right this way. Several nights ago, numerous occasions, the guy has broken in to a house over there. They've got him on video.
All right. And when you asked same house, what did he say?
Same house. Nobody could ever catch him. They've had him on video going into that house numerous times.
All right. And then going to the next page, page 18. Did he get more specific about how many times they've got him on video?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he say on lines 2 to 3?
Anyway, they got him on video going into this house 2 or 3 times.
Prosecutor Denikoski asked what Greg told him about his location when the actual shooting took place. He said Greg told him he was in the back of the truck. She asked him to read more from the transcript.
So in regard to how Greg McMichael was able to recognize Mr. Arbery, who had been inside that house 2 or 3 times on video, line 10, what did Mr. McMichael say?
I've seen these videos, so I know what the guy looks like. Black male. He wears short pants generally, a white T-shirt. He's got these little short dreads. I don't know what the hell you call them, but anyway. So I'm standing in my front yard just a little while ago. This guy comes hauling ass down the street. Like I said, like something's after him.
He said he hauled ass into his bedroom to get his .357 Magnum. Greg told him he didn't know if the guy was armed, because the other night on camera he saw him with his hand down by his pants. I don't take any chances, he said. Officer Brandeberry said Greg seemed pretty amped up, a little upset, and was talking a lot while using his hands. He said as he and Greg were talking, they were regularly interrupted by other officers and people on the scene. He said he had to keep directing Greg to continue talking to him. Greg told him that during the chase, after he jumped out and got into the back of the truck, the black male was still running down the damn road. Greg said he yelled, "Stop, stop, stop, I want to talk to you," and "Stop, goddammit." He said he heard 2 gunshots.
And you asked him, so you heard 2 shots.
Mm-hmm.
What does he indicate?
He said he saw him.
Okay. And then lines 6 through 9. What did he say then?
I saw him. Yeah. In fact, if to be perfectly honest with you, if I could have got a shot at the guy, I'd have shot him myself because he was that violently. And then we were interrupted again.
They were interrupted again, this time by a bystander who started talking to Greg. Officer Brandeberry conceded that at no point was Greg McMichael ever isolated from any of the other parties there, and that he was never told to sit on the curb and don't move or anything like that.
And so some strange guy just comes up to him and starts talking to him.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you didn't stop him or tell him to go away?
I did not.
The prosecutor directed Officer Brandeberry's attention to the next part of the transcript, where the bystander and Greg were talking. Officer Brandeberry said that at the time of this conversation, he was taking down driver's license information.
Line 22, when the male speaker comes up to Greg McMichael, what does this man say to Greg McMichael?
He said, I was concerned that it might have been the drunk guy that lives up there on the corner in that house on the right-hand side there.
Okay. And Greg McMichael says, yeah. What does the guy say next on line 1, page 27?
He's always on the road. He's always walking on the road.
And what does Greg McMichael say?
Oh, the one that kind of shuffles?
And the male speaker agreed with him?
Yes.
What did Greg McMichael say next?
Yeah, no, this ain't no shuffler. This guy's an asshole. I mean, he was hooked up when he came around that street.
All right, so hold on. Greg McMichael says, this ain't no shuffler.
Yes, ma'am.
This guy's an asshole. Who's he talking about?
I'm assuming Ahmaud Arbery.
All right. And he says, he was hooked up when he came around the street. That's what he's telling this other man.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. How far away were you from the dead body of Ahmaud Arbery when he called him an asshole?
20, 30 feet maybe. Maybe a little bit further than that.
And at this point in time, was Ahmaud Arbery surrounded by EMS and other people?
Yes, ma'am.
The male speaker then asks, was he walking? What does Greg McMichael say?
No, running flat out. Running flat out. I don't know where he was coming from down there.
So he's telling this stranger, I don't know where he was coming from.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the male speaker says, you never know what's going on. And then he asks him, are you okay? What does Greg McMichael say?
Thank you so much for that.
What's he talking about?
I'm not sure.
Was he given some water at this point?
He was.
All right. And the male speaker says, can I get some more stuff? What does Greg McMichael say? Line 18.
I'm sorry.
When the male speaker at line 16 says, I can go get some more stuff, what does Greg McMichael respond?
I'm perfectly fine.
And then, does the male speaker inquire about his son? Is your son okay?
Yes, ma'am.
What's Greg McMichael say?
He's upset as hell.
Does he repeat that?
Yes, ma'am.
And then the male speaker says, I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
The male speaker then asks him a question. What does the male speaker ask him at line 25?
So the guy have a gun.
And what does Greg McMichael say on the top of page 28?
No, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't tell if it's one on him or not, but he attacked my son.
They were interrupted again by the coroner, but the bystander and Greg then continued their conversation.
And the male speakers then ask him, oh, really?
Yes, ma'am.
Because he just said, he attacked my son. And what does Greg McMichael say?
He came at him.
And then what does Greg McMichael say?
He tried to get the damn shotgun away.
So at this point in time, a total stranger has walked up and he's telling him that this is his narrative. He attacked my son, tried to get the shotgun away.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Officer Brandeberry said Greg told him he didn't have his cell phone on him. He said he has no idea how he got it and started making phone calls at the scene. He said he didn't see anyone walk up and give it to him. At this point, he said he pivoted away from interviewing Greg.
Did Greg McMichael ever indicate to you at that time that he thought Ahmaud Arbery, the guy, had committed a crime that day?
No, ma'am.
So he didn't say the guy committed the crime of this?
No, ma'am.
And when he said to you that numerous occasions the guy has broken into a house over there, they've got him on video, what house was Greg McMichael talking about?
A house down the road that was under construction.
Okay, so he's not talking about his home at 230 Satilla Drive?
No, ma'am.
All right. While speaking with you, did Greg McMichael ever use the word burglary?
No, ma'am.
Did he ever use the word trespass?
No, ma'am.
Did he ever tell you while you're talking to him that he was attempting to make a citizen's arrest?
No, ma'am.
Did he ever even use the word arrest?
No, ma'am.
Did he ever even use the word detain?
No, ma'am.
All right. Did he ever tell you that, oh, we were going to detain this guy and wait for the police to come and investigate?
No, ma'am.
Did he ever tell you, oh, by the way, I saw Mr. Arbery throwing stuff out of his pockets as he ran?
No, ma'am.
Detective Parker Marcy was at the Glynn County Police headquarters that day when Travis McMichael arrived at the station for an interview. He testified that Travis was wearing the same clothes from earlier that day, which were covered in blood. Travis requested to get cleaned up, so Detective Marcy said they took photographs of him and allowed him to change. The photos were shown to the jury. Travis has blood on his hands, arms, shirt, face, and neck. Greg McMichael later showed up in their lobby, dressed in a light blue fishing polo, blue jeans, and sandals. Detective Marcy said he doesn't recall when William Bryan arrived at the station. Detective Marcy interviewed Greg at 3:17 p.m. It was recorded and a transcript was created. He was given the transcript to refer to as the prosecutor continued asking questions. Greg referenced having seen a video from his neighbor, Diego Perez, of someone inside the construction house. When asked if he saw the man taking anything, he said not that he recalled. I don't think the guy has actually stolen anything out of there, or if he did, it was early in this process. But he keeps going back there over and over again to this damn house, he said. Greg told him that while they were chasing him, Ahmaud, quote, put it in high gear, and so he told Travis to cut him off. He said after that, Ahmaud turned around and started running the other way. He said Ahmaud turned down Holmes Road. Ahmaud then saw them coming and turned and started running back towards the intersection.
He says that he is in the back of the truck with the 357.
All right. Now, specifically, on Holmes Road in the back of the truck with the 357, he then says specifically, I want you to quote this, line 25 into the top of line 1 and 2 on page 36. What does he specifically say?
Quoting, he says, I said, stop, I'll blow your fucking head off or something. I was trying to convey to this guy we were not playing,
After the gunshots, he said he used Travis's phone to call 911. Detective Marcy asked Greg what his intent was once they got Ahmaud to stop. He said his intent was to hold him.
Did he use the word arrest?
No, ma'am.
Did he tell you what he was going to be arrested for?
No, ma'am.
Did he use the word citizen's arrest?
No, ma'am.
Did he use the word detain?
No, ma'am.
So he's holding him. Did he tell you what he was going to hold him for?
He was going to contact the county police.
Okay, and do what?
He was going to hold him for county police so that he could either be arrested or identified.
All right, I'm going to back you up for a minute. Specifically, line 24 through 25. I'm going to actually take you up to line 21. I want you to read that quote to the jury.
He says, and I quote, to hold him till, and call county police to. I said, okay. He continues to come and, check him out.
Check him out?
Yes,
come and check him out? That's what he says?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So he's calling to have the county police come and check him out. And then what does he say?
Continuing quote, there was no doubt in my mind as to who this guy was. None, having seen the videos prior.
Now, what else is he then talking to you about? The next thing that he's trying to explain his intent to you about?
I'll continue the quote from there. The thing that was not doubtful, but was certainly a driving factor in my mind was that my son had a missing pistol, and I'm pretty certain this guy, I don't know for a fact, and I have no reason to think that he did it other than the fact that this guy has been doing this crap over and over and over.
On cross, Travis's attorney began asking about burglaries that Greg had said were happening in the neighborhood. As you'll hear in this next clip, the prosecutor objected to this line of questioning. The judge agreed, and Travis's attorney, Jason Sheffield, said, I don't know why I'm so confused.
So when you're what are you trying to figure out when you've been told that somebody committed a burglary?
Objection. Fact's not in evidence. Nobody's told him that anybody committed a burglary. And so therefore, especially that day, to ask him about this is fact's not in evidence, and counsel's trying to testify.
You were told that somebody committed a burglary, weren't you?
I was told he was going in there repeatedly, and break-ins was used, burglaries was used for the neighborhood throughout.
It's sustained because that's Mr. McMichael's statement, and he's already testified that he did not follow up on that. So it's sustained.
Okay. You did not follow up to try to determine if a burglary had been committed at 220?
Objection. Once again, formal question. On what day?
He's already testified to what he did, and you've asked him. It was either you or
Mr. Why I'm so confused, Judge. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm following.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please take a step outside.
The judge, Judge Timothy Walmsley, was not happy about Sheffield's comments, which he made clear once the jury was out of the courtroom.
Mr. Sheffield,
yes,
you can agree or disagree with this court. That is your prerogative. But to act in the way that you just did in front of this panel, disrespect, I don't care whether you like my rulings or not, or you like me or not, but in this court, the Superior Court, it is axiomatic that counsel show at least respect for what the court is doing. And what you just did shows a lack of respect for what the court is trying to do here, which is create an environment which is fair to all parties. I would suggest that you take a moment to think about that. I'm going to step off the bench because I found that, I'll just call it rude.
When court proceeded again, Roderick Noheely, another detective with the Glynn County Police Department, took the stand. He said he knew Greg McMichael when Greg had been working as an investigator at the DA's office and would deliver subpoenas from time to time. He said he has known him professionally since at least 2005. The evening after the shooting, he said Greg was being interviewed in the interview room when he stopped by to talk to him. Greg agreed to speak with him freely and voluntarily. He read from his transcript of the interview. He said he asked, "Did this guy break into a house today?" And Greg responded, "Well, that's just it. I don't know. That's what I told what's-her-name out there. I said, listen, you might want to go knock on doors down there because this guy had just done something that he was fleeing from. He might have gone in somebody's house." Detective Noheely asked if Greg had ever seen Ahmaud before, and Greg responded, "No, I had never laid eyes on the guy." Greg then told Detective Noheely that his neighbor, Diego, had showed him a video of someone inside the construction house, and that Ahmaud matched the description.
All right, so going on to the next page at the top, you ask him who Diego is on line 3. What does Greg McMichael say so he can tell you who Diego is?
Diego is the little short Hispanic guy that lives like 2 doors down from that open house, the construction house.
All right. Was he able to give you Diego's last name?
No, I don't believe so.
All right.
Detective Noheely asked Greg to speculate as to what was going through the mind of Ahmaud Arbery.
So when asking Greg McMichael to speculate about what's going through the mind of Ahmaud Arbery, what does Greg McMichael say on lines 3 through 6?
He was trapped like a rat. I think he was wanting to flee, and he realized that something, he was not going to get away.
Okay. And then I think you indicated, and well, I'll ask you, what did you then say to him based on this? He was trapped like a rat. I think he was wanting to flee, and he realized he was not going to get away.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Yeah, but he could have run around your son, right?
What's he say?
Sure.
Okay. And then what'd you say?
From what I can tell in the video, the whole road is there.
So you had seen the video at this point in time that you're talking to Greg McMichael?
I had seen it on scene briefly. Yeah.
Okay. So at that point in time, what does Greg McMichael say to you? Lines 12 through 16.
Oh, yeah. And he was much faster than Travis would ever be. He had opportunity to flee further, We had chased him around the neighborhood a bit, but he wasn't winded at all. Continue.
And then what's the next line? Just on 16,
this guy was in good shape.
After speaking with Greg, Detective Noheely told him he was free to leave, and so he left. On cross, Greg's attorney, Frank Hogue, asked him about a part in his interview with Greg where Greg said he believed Ahmaud was a threat. Hogue read out loud what Greg said after saying Ahmaud was in shape.
If he'd had gotten that shotgun and there was any separation between Travis and him, I was going to cap his ass. And you understood he was describing to you the fight right at the very end of the confrontation that you perhaps had seen on video by this point. Is that what you understood the context of this to be?
Yes.
Stephen Lowry testified that he does contract work for a local business that does computer repairs and is also a full-time student. But in February 2020, he was the on-call investigator with the Glynn County Police. He testified that he viewed the cell phone video from William Bryan's cell phone after he arrived at the scene. He watched it and then asked Bryan to come into their headquarters for an interview. Bryan agreed. Lowry said he knew Greg McMichael, but only professionally. Back at headquarters, he interviewed Bryan, who drove himself there. Again, a transcript of the interview was given to the witness so he could refer to it as he answered questions. Bryan told Lowry that he had tried to steer Ahmaud off the road several times. The prosecutor asked Lowry about Bryan's second encounter with Ahmaud, the second time he used his truck to steer Ahmaud off the road, as Bryan told it to him.
Okay.
Mr. Bryan says, I don't know if he went through the water or over it or what, but he bounced around me, so I was hanging on pretty good, and I think I backed up into my driveway and came back this way.
Okay, and what do you say?
I say, okay, and then Mr. Bryan says, and I angled my truck at him again. I think he kind of turned around. I missed him or whatever, but that's when I told the other officer this. We were still right about in this area right here.
Bryan told him about a third incident, too.
Mr. Bryan says, not back to the road that it happened on yet. I think I backed up and kind of went at him a little bit, and I can see that he was coming towards the truck. I mean, I had my window down. He was coming. He was trying to get in the truck at that point, so I slammed it in a drive and jumped out away from him. I mean, and me and the other officer looked. My truck's dirty. You can see where his hands were on the side, almost at the door, where he was, trying to get it open. So
Bryan then told him about a fourth time he tried running into Ahmaud with his truck, right before Ahmaud was shot.
Mr. Bryan says, I think I backed into my drive and then continued on Burford towards, and I say, the entrance, because you said you passed the road first. Mr. Bryan says, yeah, towards the entrance, but I confronted him, angled at him again before we got to the road he was laying on. I say, yeah. Mr. Bryan says, right at the house that's on the left-hand side if you're headed towards the entrance of the neighborhood. And I say, you're talking about before the intersection of the road where it actually happened on? Mr. Bryan says, right. And I say, okay.
Bryan said towards the end he rounded a corner and saw that the black guy wasn't running anymore and that it looked like he had been confronted. Bryan told Lowry that he had never seen Ahmaud before, and when asked if he knew of him being involved in any past incidences, Bryan said not that he knows of. After his interview with Bryan, Ahmaud Arbery was officially identified. Lowry told the court that later in the day, he went to the construction home with some other officers to look around.
I believe it was Investigator Marcy, Investigator Ramos, and maybe Sergeant Oliver.
Okay. And did you see any expensive tools there in that home, in that construction site?
I think I remember seeing saws or drills or something like that.
Okay. So you saw multiple tools there?
I don't know about multiple. I don't remember how many I saw, but I do remember seeing tools there.
Okay. And how did the structure appear to you?
On the inside, it was mostly just framing. There weren't, I don't think walls were erected in all the building yet. It was missing doors and windows.
Okay. Did it appear that it was rummaged through in any way?
No.
Okay. How did it appear?
Like a house under construction.
Okay.
Yeah, just unrummaged, I guess.
Unrummaged. Could you tell if anything had been moved or destroyed or anything like that?
I couldn't.
You couldn't tell. Okay.
After court was adjourned for the day, Ahmaud's mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, held a news conference. She said, quote, Investigator Lowry was the individual that called me on that Sunday afternoon about 6:30 p.m. and told me that Ahmaud had committed a burglary. He was confronted by the homeowner, and Ahmaud was killed. She said she didn't hear any of that in his testimony in court. That was very disturbing, she said. The owner of the construction house on Satilla Drive is Larry English. Due to health issues, he was unable to testify in court, but he had given a deposition in the months leading up to the trial, which was played for the jury. According to English, on October 25, 2019, he called the police to report someone at the property. In his call, he described the person he saw as a colored guy with curly hair and tattoos. He said the guy was just pondering around, but he asked for an officer to go over there. The guy, who we now know was Ahmaud Arbery, left before police arrived. On November 17th, English called the police again after seeing a white couple entering the property. In this call, he said he had noticed some stuff missing a couple weeks prior, referencing the items missing from his boat. The couple was gone by the time police arrived. The following day, on November 18th, English called the police again, saying, "The same guy that was over there about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, was there." It was Ahmaud, who again left prior to police arriving. When asked if anything was ever taken from the construction site, he said not that he knows of. On December 17th, English saw Ahmaud on camera at the construction site again. He again called the police. And again, Ahmaud didn't stay long enough to still be there when they arrived. At one point during his calls to police, English said he believed Ahmaud was under the influence of alcohol or drugs, but he conceded that he had no reason to believe that. The camera footage was taken with infrared lighting and could have made it seem like Ahmaud was stumbling when he wasn't. English testified that in addition to the police checking on his property, he also gave a neighbor of his permission to do so as well, but not any of the defendants. He said he had spoken with Greg and Travis before, but he couldn't recall whether he had told them about what was going on at the property. He said that in his experience as a general contractor, it wasn't uncommon for people to come by and check out unfinished properties. On cross, English said Ahmaud looked suspicious to him, and that there was no reason, at least in his mind, for him to be on the property. He agreed that he was concerned not only for the property, but for the safety of his child. Glynn County Officer Robert Rash had spoken with Larry English about what he had seen on his surveillance camera, as well as responded to the scene a couple times. He testified that in the months prior to the shooting, he saw Greg McMichael in his front yard as he was patrolling the neighborhood. Greg walked over and they talked about the unidentified black male that was seen on the surveillance video.
It's daytime, you encounter him outside his house, and you're talking about what's happening at 220.
Yes, ma'am.
Did he have any knowledge of what was going on at 220 prior to this?
Any knowledge as in?
As in, did he tell you, I've spoken with Larry English all about this?
No, ma'am. He never told me that.
Okay. But you're telling him, hey, I've had these two encounters at 220. And he asked you to forward his information to Larry English.
Yes.
He said he sent Larry a text message introducing him to Greg McMichael also on that day. It read, "Your neighbor is Greg McMichael. Greg is retired law enforcement and also a retired investigator from the DA's office. He said, please call him day or night when you get action on your camera." He then sent him Greg's phone number. He was asked if he deputized Greg or gave him any authority as a police officer, and he said no, that was not his intention.
My goal with sending that text was Greg McMichael had, to my knowledge, about 30 plus years of law enforcement experience. Who else to be an expert witness? Call 911. And, I've watched shows, I've seen things where you have 10 people witness a crime, you get 10 different stories on who the person was, what they looked like, what they were wearing. Greg has training and experience. He would be, in my opinion, would be an expert witness to be on the phone with 911. He's running north, south, he's wearing this. He would know the pertinent information that the officers would need to know once they arrived on scene to possibly catch the intruder or the trespasser.
She wanted him to be a witness.
Yes.
To get this guy identified.
Yes, ma'am.
He told the jury about the burglary in progress call he got at the construction house on February 11th, 2020. When he got there, Travis and Greg were there. Ahmaud was gone. He testified that it wasn't a burglary in progress call as reported, but more like a trespassing and possibly loitering call. Larry sent him a video of the man, and he showed it to Greg and Travis. He said the man had no bags on him, and Larry told him nothing had been taken, which he relayed to the two men. Officer Rash told the court that he is involved in a civil lawsuit over the case. With the jury out of the courtroom, Kevin Goff, the attorney for William Bryan, asked for a mistrial. A few days prior, he had objected to Reverend Al Sharpton being in the courtroom.
My understanding, while I was cross-examining Investigator Lowry yesterday, is that the Right Reverend Al Sharpton managed to find his way into the back of the courtroom. I'm guessing he was somehow there at the invitation of the victim's family in this case. And I have nothing personally against Mr. Sharpton. My concern is that it's one thing for the family to be present. It's another thing to ask for the lawyers to be present. But if we're going to start a precedent starting yesterday, we're going to bring high-profile members of the African-American community into the courtroom to sit with the family during the trial in the presence of the jury. I believe that's intimidating, and it's an attempt to pressure, could be consciously or unconsciously, an attempt to pressure or influence the jury. Obviously, there's only so many pastors they can have. And if their pastor's Al Sharpton right now, that's fine, but then that's it. We don't want any more black pastors coming in here or other Jesse Jackson, whoever was in here earlier this week, sitting with the victim's family, trying to influence a jury in this case. But I think the court can understand my concern about bringing people in who really don't have any ties to this case other than political interests. We want to keep politics out of this case. If a bunch of folks came in here dressed like Colonel Sanders with white masks sitting in the back, I mean, that would be good.
Judge Walmsley had said he didn't see an issue.
Well, I will tell you that I noticed him once and that was it. And the fact that nobody else even noticed that he was in here means that everybody complied with this court's rulings on sitting in this courtroom and listening to the evidence. I don't hear a motion, and I will tell you this, I'm not going to blanketly exclude members of the public from this courtroom.
Now, Goff was objecting to Reverend Jesse Jackson's presence in the courtroom's gallery, saying it could influence the jury.
He is, Your Honor, I think we all know, an icon in the civil rights movement. He, not just a witness to it, he the personification of it. And in other circumstances, I think everybody would be happy to have their picture taken, maybe get an autograph. But in the context of this trial, we object to his presence in the public gallery inside the courtroom. We note that there is a jury assembly room capable of holding, depending on how we socially distance, several hundred people, where these proceedings are being televised live in real time. The issue as brought up previously is, how many pastors does the Arbery family have?
Again, Judge Walmsley disagreed.
Mr. Goff, at this point, I'm not exactly sure what you're doing. I have already ruled on this court's position with regard to the gallery. And with all candor, I was not even aware that Reverend Jackson was in the courtroom until you started your motion. I have indicated the court's position. The court's position hasn't changed. At this point, it's almost as if you're just trying to continue this for purposes other than just bringing it to the court's attention. I have heard the objection. I have ruled previously on my position with regard to the gallery, and that is unchanged. So then we start getting into what we have now with individual members or individuals coming into the courtroom. I will say that is directly in response, Mr. Goff, to statements you made, which I find reprehensible. The Colonel Sanders statement you made last week, I would suggest may be something that has influenced what is going on here.
The motion for a mistrial was denied. The GBI took over the case in May, 3 months after Ahmaud Arbery was killed. Agent Jason Seacrest testified that he interviewed William Bryan twice, on May 11th and then again on May 13th. He said the video of the incident had already made the rounds at this point, and warrants had already been signed for the arrests of Greg and Travis McMichael. He said Bryan was not arrested or detained, that he drove to the station and back freely. Brian's attorney and another agent were both present. In the first interview, Brian's attorney had a limitation. They could only discuss what happened between the time Brian had left the police department after the incident and through May 11th. They were not to discuss what happened with Ahmaud. Agent Seacrest said a few questions did come up that went beyond the limitation, but he received permission to proceed. For example, Brian told him that he saw that Ahmaud's hands were out during the chase, and that it appeared that he wasn't holding anything. Brian told him that he had seen Greg around the neighborhood, but didn't know his son, Travis. And Brian also told him that in 2019, a trailer had been stolen from behind his truck in his yard, and that his brother-in-law also had some petty things stolen. Other than that, he didn't know of any other thefts or burglaries in the neighborhood. In the second interview, they talked about what happened with Ahmaud.
Mr. Bryan stated, I figured if I'd slowed him down and got a picture, that maybe something would happen in the end other than just him getting away and cops not knowing who he was. I said, so then that kind of makes me want to ask, why did the cops need to know? Mr. Bryan replied, because I figured he had done something wrong. I didn't know for sure. I stated, okay, what made you think he might have done something wrong? Mr. Bryan responded, it was just instinct, man. I don't know.
Okay. So he figured the victim had done something wrong, and it was just instinct that told him that.
Yes, ma'am. That's
what he said. Okay.
On May 21st, 2020, Brian was arrested, and they executed search warrants for his house and phone. Agent Seacrest was asked what he noticed about Brian's statements to him versus his prior statements to the Glynn County Police Department.
His statements to the Glynn County Police Department were more direct in his involvement to corral and box in Mr. Arbery during the event. His statements to me minimized his involvement in that process that led to Mr. Arbery's death.
Dr. Edmund Donahue conducted the autopsy on Ahmaud. He said Ahmaud was essentially dead by the time he hit the ground, that he doesn't believe that there was anything anyone could have done to save him. He testified that Ahmaud was shot at very close range, between 3 and 20 inches, and that it could be consistent with someone pushing the gun away. In his initial report, he had written that Ahmaud's wounds were, quote, sustained during a struggle for a shotgun. He said that after viewing a breakdown of the video, he could see Ahmaud's hand on the weapon. This was after he had been shot. A fight or flight reaction, Donahue said. According to Dr. Donahue's testimony, Travis fired off 3 gunshots, 2 of which hit Ahmaud. Both shots caused such severe bleeding that both would have been fatal. Richard Dial, the lead investigator with the GBI, was the last witness for the state. He testified that he was assigned the lead investigator on May 6th. On May 7th, he reviewed all the video, interviews, and reports that the Glynn County Police Department had collected. He said he determined that there was enough probable cause to get arrest warrants for Greg and Travis McMichael. He said they continued to investigate William Bryan, and after they interviewed him twice, he was also arrested on May 21st. During this time, he said they also went back and interviewed witnesses themselves, executed search warrants, and sent items to the crime lab.
The Remington 870 shotgun that was utilized by Travis McMichael and was collected by evidence by the Glynn County Police Department. We had collected that from them and taken that to the crime lab, as well as the spent shell casings or shells, shotgun shells from the scene that was collected by the Glynn County Police Department. That was also taken to the crime lab.
So I just want to make sure. Glynn County Police Department collected the evidence at the scene on February 23rd, 2020.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then it stayed with them until you transported it to the crime lab in May.
One of my agents. Yes, ma'am.
Dial went over the route Ahmaud took that day, noting that Ahmaud's residence, located in Fancy Bluff, is 1.8 miles away from Satilla Shores. He was asked if Glynn County investigators searched or took possession of William Bryan's vehicle, and he said no. Did they even pat Mr. Bryan down? The prosecutor asked. No, ma'am, they did not, he responded. He said Bryan was allowed to take his truck home from the scene and then come into the Glynn County Police Station later for an interview. After Dial walked the jury through drone video from the Satilla Shores neighborhood, the state then rested their case. Defense attorneys renewed their attempts to get the judge to declare a mistrial. They were again denied. In part 2, I'll get into the defense's case for all 3 defendants, in which Travis McMichael takes the stand.
I shot him. Why? He had my gun. He struck me. It was obvious that he was. It was obvious that he was attacking me. That if he would have got the shotgun from me, then it was this is a life or death situation.
And then the conclusion. That's next week in part 2. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.